Hey guys, welcome to another video from Tye-Dyed. MJ here to actually show you guys some cool arts and crafts that you can do with some leftover snake skin or lizard shed, anything you got left over at the house. So we're going to be messing with some resin today and some Mod Podge, so make sure whatever you guys are doing, you're doing it safely in well-ventilated area, gloves, preferably a mask. Yeah, let's get started then. I'm going to start off doing the resin, that way it can actually sit out and cure. I'm using UV resin. There's two different brands that I currently use. You can get these at a lot of craft stores, Joann's, all sorts of stuff. And then it's just some basic molds you can get off of Amazon. And then make sure you got all your equipment set out. I've got a bag of snake shed here. I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on first because you want to make sure everything's sanitized. Now normally you'd also want to get a pair of scissors, but I don't have scissors right now, so we're just going to tear a little piece off. So basically what you would just do, make sure that you can clean your little mold as best you can. Rubbing alcohol usually works the best from what I can tell. Now we're just going to get right on into it. There we go. And like I said, this is UV resin, so this will actually kind of cure while I'm working on it, since I am in an area with pretty direct exposed light. So, here's the other one. It'll be a little bit easier to mess with. But you just basically want to cover that up as best you can. You're going to have a couple of little air bubbles in it when you do it, so it's best to also have a lighter or a heat gun nearby. I, of course, forgot to grab that before I set up, but that's okay, because we'll just tap the bubbles out. You can also use a toothpick to kind of work them towards the surface. And it may look like I'm wasting a lot of the resin. I'm just trying to make sure that I cover every bit of it. I'm going to take my little pokey and popsicle stick here and pop some of these bubbles out and try to submerge just a little bit better. Now you can either, if you have a UV light, you can just stick it directly under a UV light and let it kind of hang out and cure that way. Otherwise, I find the best way personally is just stick it out in direct sunlight, leave it out there. You can leave it out for about an hour or so. It might be a little tacky. The longer you leave it out, the better it'll actually cure. So I'm gonna set that aside and we'll kind of stick that outside later. So we're gonna move on to my next little craft here. So here we have some little letters that we're going to Mod Podge some snake shed onto. And of course, TDI for Tye-Dyed iguana. Went ahead and got some scissors for this one because the scissors will make my life a lot easier when I go to do this. Now, if you want to and you don't want to have the full natural look that the snake shed will give you, you can use like mica powders, or pretty sure you can even use eyeshadow to kind of color it a little bit. But today we're gonna go with a natural look because I think that'll look a lot cooler, and I do not have my mica powder with me. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut your piece of shed, and that actually might fit. Oh yeah, that fits pretty nicely. This is Mod Podge. I'm going with the matte. There's different types. It's basically just a glue sealer type thing. A lot of people use it to seal acrylic paints and whatnot. There's satin finish, there's glossed finish, and there's matte finish. I'm just going with the matte finish because I want the snake skin to look as natural as possible. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit on the letter itself. That way this shed has actually something to stick to. Take your piece, and you're just going to lay it right on top. And kind of flatten it down a little bit. You can also kind of trim around it to kind of get it to stick down a little bit better, but obviously the stickier it is, the better it'll stick to the thing itself. But I'm also going to put a little bit on the sides here so we can kind of bend this down a little bit. And if you want to actually fully wrap around the letter too, you could always take a pair of scissors and trim it. I haven't done that part yet, but I'm just kind of lightly pressing so I don't tear the shed or anything like that, and I don't shift it too much because it is trying to dry still. And obviously this will take a minute to do, so just be prepared. Any good arts and craft will though. And then obviously once it's trimmed, that's kind of what it'll look like. But then we'll trim it up, make it actually look nice. So I'm gonna let that kind of chill out for a minute. And then we have a picture frame that we can do while we're waiting for that to dry. So once again, you're just gonna cut it in half, or cut it to whatever size you're working on for your project. And once again, guessed, and that's pretty decent, so. I'll take the glass out so that doesn't get glue on it or break. And the reason I'm scraping this off is that you don't want to have an excess amount of the Mod Podge, because then it'll take absolutely forever to dry. The thicker the layer, the longer it'll take for it to actually cure the way that it's supposed to. So. Now I have heard people who will also tape these in place while they're gluing, just so it kind of has a little bit extra stuff to hold on to, because obviously you can see that I'm kind of fighting to flatten this out a little bit. So you could try that as well, if the glue is just not holding it in place like you want it to. Trying to get every little scale. And I know that's white now, but it will dry clear. It's not gonna be all weird looking. We're gonna let those sit and we'll come back to them and trim them up and see how they look. Right now I'm just trying to trim up the edges and make this look cooler.
Now it's had a few hours to dry.
Yeah, a little nicer. Everything is cured and done. So this is how our resin piece turned out. So you can kind of see there's a couple little bubbles in it, but honestly, I think the bubbles look cooler, but that's, I guess, my personal opinion. So it came out a little rough on the top, but you can do like a wet sanding and get that down to where it's smooth and glossy. But I think that actually kind of came out kind of cool looking. You can actually see the really cool patterning on it from when it was curing on the thing. This is how our picture frame turned out. So you can put a little picture in there. You might want to clean the edges up a little bit more, but that's probably best we're gonna do with our scissors. They weren't the greatest of scissors, but you could definitely clean those edges up for sure. And then here is how our Tye-Dyed initials came out. Now we just have a mess of shed to clean up and a couple supplies, but those are just some of the fun crafts you can do with your leftover snake sheds and reptile sheds. Thanks for joining us, guys.